Good afternoon. My name is Rosemary Adams, and I'm the Media Specialist at Crossville Middle School. I'd like to share with you a little bit of my journey to becoming an advocate, a passionate advocate for my Media Center. I think we need to start off by saying, what does it mean to be an advocate for your Media Center? Webster's Dictionary defines advocacy as being a supporter of a person or a plan. The AASL defines it as the ongoing process of building partnerships so that others will act for and with you. It starts with having a vision in place and then matches that with an action plan. A couple of years ago, my school district had an elementary school and it had a high school, but it became evident that those schools were becoming very overcrowded. We had almost 1,000 students in our elementary school and almost 1,000 students at our high school. And so the powers that be came together and decided that they were going to split the schools into 3 separate entities: an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school. And I was called in and asked if I wanted to be the middle school media specialist. And I had always wanted to be at this particular school as a media specialist, but I was very apprehensive about how and what it would mean to split from 2 schools into 3 schools. As you can imagine, it was a very difficult transition, and there were lots of obstacles that we had to overcome. And it was during that time period that I realized that I had to be an advocate for our Media Center. Before we ask ourselves, what is an advocate? I think we need to answer the question, why should we advocate for our Media Center? A couple of weeks ago, myself and a new librarian in our school district attended a workshop, and while we were there, somebody stood up and started talking about how we had to advocate for our positions, and we had to constantly be letting other people know how important media specialists were. On the way home, my friend, who like I said, was fairly new to being a librarian, she said, "Why do we have to fight for our jobs?" She said, "When I was in the classroom, I certainly didn't have to convince people to let me continue teaching." And I told her about an article that I had just recently read. The name of the article is called "Are School Librarians Going Way of the Milkman?" In this particular article, it was talking about how several school districts and even statewide, some schools were choosing to use the funds that they had allocated for librarians in other ways. And so they were doing away with their media specialist. And so I told her that our position is very unique and that we have to not only continue to do our jobs well, but we have to let others know how vital our role is in the school. As I mentioned before, AASL defines advocacy as the ongoing process of building partnerships so that others will act for and with you. So who should act as an advocate for the school library? Well, in short, it's everyone. It is parents, it is students, it is other teachers, other community stakeholders. It is anyone who has contact or interest invested in the library. It is vital that as media center specialists, we build partnerships with these groups so that we can build stronger media centers for our school. Soon after our schools split and I became the media specialist for the middle school, I was in the teacher's lounge one day when a fellow coworker asked me what steps that she would need to take in order to get her library media certification. And I told her that she would need to go back to school and earn her master's degree. And another coworker who was sitting in the teacher's lounge said, "Really? You have to have a master's degree just to be able to check out books?" Well, I quickly rolled my eyes, but then I realized that he wasn't being mean. He just simply was speaking out of ignorance. He didn't know what all I did. Well, bless his heart, he got more than what he bargained for. I told him, I said, "This morning I got here and I called my book fair vendor and I set up for my next book fair. Then I went to the 4th grade hall and had to fix one of the teacher's computers. Then I came back and I wrote a makerspace lesson. I also had to collaborate with our 8th grade English teacher on a research paper that her class would be working on. I pulled resources for the science teacher on the water cycle. I ordered new books for our media center. I mended some books that had pages torn out. And I also met with the budget committee, and that was all before 9 o'clock. And he just kind of looked at me with his eyes wide open, and he said, "Wow, I had no idea that you did all that." And I realized then that it was my job to inform others of exactly how vital our role is in the school. And then our job is to persuade those people to get on board and also act as an advocate for our school libraries. Now, many of you might be asking, how do I start to act as an advocate for my school library media program? And in short, the answer is you must communicate your wants and needs to your stakeholders. When we first became Crossville Middle School, my greatest need was we needed technology. I had 4 working computers in my library, and that simply was not enough to be able to function effectively. So the first thing I did was communicate this problem to my administrators and then and my stakeholders, and we came up with an action plan to help generate more money for the library. A lot of times when you say that you need to communicate, people think immediately, oh, we have to have lots of meetings, and that's not true. One of the ways that you can communicate is just on an informal basis. Just when you see people, let them know what your wants and needs are. I contacted several different businesses in our area and asked them for donations and explained to them what we needed those donations for. I contacted our local newspaper, and they ran an article about the needs that we had in our library, and we had several people that reached out to us and donated gently used technology for our schools. I also published a library newsletter. We also had a Facebook page, our school did, and we started putting out information on our Facebook account and our Twitter account. And so we simply just started getting the word out that we needed more money for our technology program. We also came together with other staff members and people who are friends of the library, and we came up with a fundraiser. It was Bingo for Books, and that helped to generate money to buy new computers for our library. Another way that you can advocate for your school library media program is by lobbying. Last year, I saw where lobbying was highly effective in the state of Alabama. Several media specialists in our state came together and decided to write congressmen state representatives and other people on the state level to let them know that we needed money for our library media centers. Several years ago, the state decided to cut library enhancement money, and there was no money being given to librarians. And because of us lobbying and coming together and stating our position, we began receiving money last year for our libraries from the state again. So it is very important to stay up to date on information and key legislation that affects our school libraries. In conclusion, I just want you to remember that each one of you has a story to tell, a story about your library media center. In short, that's what advocacy really is. It is sharing your story with others in order to solicit support for your library media program. We have to tell our story because our children are counting on us to tell it.